What's going on, everyone? My name is Devin Sears. I'm the field marketing manager for Bluehost. And today we have a special guest. It's not someone from the WordPress community, it's actually our very own Terry Carter. Last time we had one of these chats, we asked people to submit what they would like to hear about. And one of the overwhelming things was that people wanted to hear about technical questions that they might have about their WordPress website. So we're going to bring Terry in here in just a minute, and we're going to talk about. Hey, Carol. Hey, Bree. Looks like we got a bunch of people tuning in today. Terry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good, Devin. What's going on, my man?
I'm excited to be here, my friend. I'm excited to have you as well. I'm going to do a little
I'm,
bit of
I'm honored to
housekeeping.
be on. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm gonna do a little bit of housekeeping. I'm just pinning here what we're talking about. We're doing Q&A with a WordPress expert, and it looks like we already got a lot of people in here. So
Awesome.
we fielded a handful of questions from people over the past couple weeks that we're going to talk about. Terry's going to help us out. We know that it can be a little bit of an overwhelming process sometimes when people get started with a new website. And we're going to
Absolutely.
have Terry here help set us straight on a couple things. So if you have questions, ask them in the comment area. We'll try to get to all of them. We do have a handful of questions that people already submitted. And as always, hit the heart button, show Terry some love. Thanks for tuning in today. Terry, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, how you got started with WordPress.
Okay, so I originally started WordPress back when WordPress was just really about blogging. But the thing that really gave me the passion about it was I was actually working for a very large hosting company who may or may not be here in Phoenix. And I was just a tier one representative, like an inbound representative, and I really just got like destroyed on this real tough call with a customer because they had WordPress questions. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, oh my God. So what I did was I took it upon myself to go out and build a WordPress website. And then as I started building it, that's really when I fell in love with it. And, just the way it works and what it does and all of those other good things, it was incredible. So once I had that passion, I just took it to the next level. And then, when I was able to start working with Bluehost, I just never turned back. I love it. So, I freelanced in it, done work with it, built sites with it, and now I get to work with it full time.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people that are established in building WordPress sites have had that experience as well, where they started with something that they weren't sure how it would go, and if they stuck with it, they spent some time really learning the system, and now they're able to produce some pretty amazing sites. But
Absolutely.
Terry, I want to start with this story. Not that long ago on my house, I wanted to fix an electrical issue, and I was looking around for some quotes from some different electricians, and I saw something that I think was humorous, but I loved it, so I'm going to share it today. There was something on the electrician's website that said, "I'll come and fix your problem for 50 bucks, but if I have to come and fix you trying to fix your problem, I'm going to charge you 100 bucks." And and I think sometimes websites are like that. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you right off the bat, what are three or four of the biggest speed bumps that new users run into when they're starting on their very first WordPress website?
Okay, and you know what? That's a very good question, Devin. That's one of the main things I wanted to address. Hi, Bree, and hey, Josh. But just real quick, one of the main things is it comes down to a lot of expectations. I know we live in kind of like a microwave type society, so a lot of times customers come in with the mindset that they're just going to put their magic wand and do their Harry Potter thing, and poof, this amazing website's going to just pop out of nowhere. And it doesn't quite work like that. One of the main speed bumps that people go into is they go into it with no plan, and they just want to go and just create out of their head. It's like, You know, it's kind of like the difference between playing backyard football and then playing for a team. And when you're playing backyard football, you just kind of make up the rules as you go and this and that. But when you're playing for a team, it's a little bit more organized, and you know, one has a future, the other one's just for fun. So a lot of times, I always encourage people that when you're first getting started building your WordPress website, the first thing you want to do is have a structure. You know, what is your company about? What is the goal of your website? Is it to entertain? Is it for e-commerce? Is it informational? Is it educational? Do you want to scale it and make it larger? Is it a blog? Um, like, what type of look do you want it to have? What type of things would you put on an About Me page? What would be like three main things that your service does that distinguishes you from any of your other competition? It's things like that. Those are huge things when you first start out building a WordPress site. And then also picking the theme that's right for you, picking the hosting package and things that are right for you. Those are like speed bumps I see a lot of people hit.
Okay. So you said it was no structure. That's one of the big speed bumps, and I could see that
Absolutely.
happening all the time. Someone thinks, I want to have a blog, or I want to start the next Amazon, and so they figure, I'll get the account, I'll get in there, and I'll try to start creating from there. But I completely agree with you. You're going to see a lot more success if you say, okay, I want to sell handcrafted T-shirts because I'm a great sketch artist, and I think I've got a lot of great designs that people will love. And
Hmm.
I completely agree with you. If you have a goal, if you know what you want your purpose of the website to be, you'll have a lot more success going into it and building it. Um, and
Right.
what was the second one that you said?
So the second one is like choosing the right theme, knowing what's the right tool for the job. A lot of times when you get started with a WordPress website, you don't know what you don't know. And the WordPress rabbit hole can go really deep. Like you'll be like Alice in Wonderland, just going down there. It's really a lot. So you do have to do some research, and but it comes down to narrowing down what is it that you want to do, what do you want to accomplish, and then you step into using the right tool for the job. That's the key. Another thing is also having the right hosting plan. An example I always use for that is you may want to build a mansion, but if the plot of land you own is like exponentially smaller, it's not going to be able to handle that footprint. So you're going to need something that can accommodate that mansion. By the same token, if you just want to build a she shed or like something small like that, you don't need 12 acres of land just to put that on. So it's about choosing that right hosting plan also that's going to give you like the power, the resources, the uptime, and things like that so it can optimize your performance.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And so you say tools, we talk about hosting a little bit, making sure we get the right resource. For someone that's first building their very first WordPress site, what other tools do they need to look at? What tools should they be adding to their tool chest, so to speak, when they're starting out?
And you know what? That's a very good question. So one of the first things with WordPress being a content management system, you are going to need a pretty robust server to put it on. Now, unlike a Wix or a Squarespace or something like that, and shouts out to them, they do really good things. They build some really nice sites. But when you're building a WordPress website and you're going to want to put it on that server, that is the main thing that you want to consider. If you want to do, let's say, e-commerce, right? You don't want to have something that's only good for maybe like a cat blog, something that's really small, or something that's just that only maybe your friends and your family are going to see. You want to have a nice, robust hosting platform that's going to have the power. That should be the first tool in your arsenal. So you want to have a good host. If you are a novice user, You want to have a host that has an easy installation process for WordPress. It's key. If you have to do what we on the tech end would call a manual install of WordPress, and you're brand new at it, it can really discourage you. It could be difficult and very challenging for you just starting out. So it's really best if you have something. You'll see terms like a one-click install and things like that. You really want something like that. That's an excellent tool. Uh, Third thing that you're going to want, you definitely want a good theme. WordPress themes, there's thousands of them. They come in all shapes, sizes, and they have all different levels of function. Whether you're a photographer and you want to put your portfolio on a WordPress website, whether you have a new blog, whether you want to put together an online magazine, even if you're something like Time Magazine or the White House, who has a WordPress website for what they do, you want to make sure that you choose the right theme. It's going to give you the right amount of function, the right amount of style, and that's going to accomplish the goals that you need. Then a little
And
bit of creativity, of course.
you got to throw in your own flair, right? I
Absolutely,
think
that's the fun part.
that's the fun part, and I think that goes back to the first thing that we were talking about, which is you have to have a plan. You have to
Definitely
know what direction you want to go in. I think one of the things that we were talking about before is, if you're writing a book, it's going to be a lot harder if you just try to start in chapter 10 without knowing how the book begins or ends or anything, and just try to start from the middle. But
very
if
true.
you just like college essays, you got to have your beginning, middle, and end. And once you have that outlined, it's a lot easier to start filling in the gap and saying, okay, I want to have an e-commerce website. So then I know that when I'm looking at themes, I need to have a theme that supports me selling things online. I think that's
Exactly.
absolutely critical.
Exactly. It's just like if you're writing a novel, to your example, if you're writing a novel, you want to do your character sketches. You want to write those out first. You want to write, okay, what era and time am I doing it in? Am I writing a book in the 1980s, in the 1880s? Am I writing a futuristic book? Is it going to be fantasy? Is it going to be like a true crime? Is it going to be drama? Like whatever type of spectrum that's in. You have to work all of those things out before you actually start writing. And it makes that process a lot easier for you.
Right.
Same with your
Yeah.
WordPress website.
Same with the WordPress website. And then what was the next speed bump after that?
Okay, yeah, so
What
the
are the
next
common
speed
speed
bump.
bumps?
Okay, yeah, so the next one, choosing the right theme. That's another one. That's a major one that we've run into. You really want to do your research when you're choosing a theme. Um, there are a lot of themes that really look nice, but some of them aren't always the right fit for what you're doing. And, there's so much information about there, good information, very reputable information, but sometimes information can be biased. And for example, you could look on a YouTube video and it'll say, hey, get this nice shiny theme. If you look somewhere else, hey, get this one. But really, it takes a little bit of research to see. One of the things I always encourage people to do is go to some websites that you frequent. Like, what are some sites that you frequent with your same subject matter? And who would be your competition or a contemporary of yours where you can look at them and say, hey, I like what this website does. I like how it functions. I like the style of this. I like the layout. And then the other thing that a lot of people run into, and I caution people about this all the time, Devin, you are building a website for your audience. It's not your personal magnum opus. If you want to do, Julie, I'm gonna get to your question in just a moment. Okay, thank you so much for asking. Okay, she asked what are some of my favorite themes, so I'm gonna jump right into that. Okay, but you're building a theme for your audience. I think a lot of times different individuals I work with, they say, oh, well, I want it like this, I want it like that, and I want to see this, and I want to put this here, and so on and so forth. But they've ignored the fact that their audience may not respond in the way that they respond to that particular thing. That's why it's very important to do your research and do some very pointed research before you just delve into building your WordPress website.
Sure.
So
And did you say that you wanted to get to Julie's question on some of your favorite themes right off the bat?
yes, yes. Okay, so Julie, um, some of my favorite themes personally, and the ones that I like when I do build sites that I use the most often, um, I like I I like any theme made by Visual Moto. In my opinion, they make some amazing themes. They're very feature rich. They're very clean coded. That's a very important thing. They're very clean coded. So that stops you from having what you call bloat, like theme bloat. If you ever had an Android phone, which I do, I'm an Android guy. But if you have an Android phone and it's anything but a pixel, you'll notice you get a lot of apps and other things on there that they call bloatware. Well, WordPress themes can do the same thing. They can come very bloated with a lot of things. So, uh, Visual Moto themes don't have a lot of that. They have some of the best layouts. So that's one of my favorites. There's another one called Phlox, Phlox. That's another one that I really like. Phlox has a lot of really nice layouts. I wouldn't say it's really for a novice because certain layouts and navigating through it, and there's a lot of CSS and things in there like that you may have to manipulate. But it's an amazing theme. Another thing I really love is Creativo. Creativo is one of my favorites. It's one of the best all around like Swiss Army knife type themes. So those are just a few of mine to answer your questions.
Yeah, and Julie, I think another thing that's important when you're looking at themes is it goes back to the plan that we were talking about at the beginning. You know, what do you want your site to
Correct.
do? Um, Terry and I were talking before this chat, and we were talking about how sometimes building a website is like picking out the car you want to purchase. You know,
Right.
if you're going to be hauling lumber, then you don't want to get a little two-door sports car, right? You want to get a pickup truck that has the ability to carry a lot of whatever supplies or lumber if you're going to build something. And I think websites are similar. It depends on what your goal with the website is, and that's the best way to choose a theme. However, I think when you are looking at themes, there are things that you can evaluate on a theme by
Hmm.
theme basis to see if they are a good fit. One of those is you can see how often the theme is updated. If we're talking about security, which we don't need to go too deep into security, usually hacks come from outdated themes or outdated plugins. So making sure that the themes that you're looking into are being regularly updated and have a team behind them that are working on that theme, I think that's an integral part to choosing the right theme for your website. Is there anything that you'd want to add to that, Terry?
Devin, you know what? You nailed it. You said it perfectly. You said it perfectly. Yeah, and it is very relative. I use another example when I tell people about choosing themes, and I let them know, think of a theme as somewhat of a marriage. It's like a marriage where you get into it with the hopes that you're going to be in it forever, but sometimes things can go wrong. And if you wanted to ever change it and get out of it, you could, but it will cause you some pain along the way. So, yes. So yeah, so you're absolutely right. You do want to choose wisely from the beginning when you're doing a theme, and the points that you put out, Devin, were spot on. Make sure
Yeah.
it's regularly updated. Make sure that it's clean coded. Make sure that it's going to have the features that you need. That it's going to have all the things that you need in it. Make sure it's going to have support. If you're a novice, having that support. I know there's a lot of free themes there, but if you get into a free theme and then something goes wrong or there's something you don't understand and you have to call somebody up and ask something, they're going to say, hey, you know what? You didn't pay for anything. Like, no, we're not going to support you. So it's definitely good to have something where you have that ongoing support for sure. Not
So
just email support only, but you want to have really good support on it.
yeah, so let's dive in a little bit more on that. You talked about a free theme. I know a lot of people, if they're just starting out, they're looking around on the internet and they're looking for the right theme for their site. And I'm sure they've come across the opportunity to purchase a theme.
Sure.
Now, I know WordPress is an open source platform, so there's a lot of free themes out there. What would someone benefit from buying a premium theme, or when would they might consider actually spending money to pay for a theme?
Okay. Well, so good, some really good things to go by when you're choosing that theme, and that will take us into the difference between the free theme and the premium theme and what's going to be different about that. The first thing I would say is if, again, it's all about choosing the right tool for the job. If you are starting a business and you're saying that when I make this website, I want this to generate income for me, I want to do that, you do not, yes, Flux is compatible with WPML plugin. Yes, that's a yes. Sorry. But but you definitely want to get a theme that's for, oh, I'm sorry. Let me get back to my point. If you get that free theme, if you're just trying to test out and say, hey, maybe I'll use WordPress, maybe I won't. I just want to kind of see what it's like. You know, let me just maybe kind of, in a sense, get my feet wet into what it is. Let me practice. Or I'm trying to just learn WordPress because I may want to develop sites later, or I may want to be a designer or something like that. Free themes are fine for that. However, with premium themes, number one, you get the support. That's one of the main things. You get support. If something goes wrong with your theme, if you come in one day and you have a 500 error, which if you have a WordPress site, sure as you're born, you will encounter one at some point or another. Yes, for certain, you'll definitely want that support then. For the updates that come out, you're definitely going to want those things. That's what helps you with the premium themes. Also, you get more features and you get a more robust experience. It's going to have a lot more function. It'll be able to do a lot more things. Things. Uh, Free themes usually have a lot of limitations on them. So you'll want to change something in the header, but then it's like, oh man, I can't do it. I have to have the premium version. Or, hey, I want to change this color over here to this. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I want to change this background. I can't do it. Oh, I want to add a particular plugin. It doesn't allow you to do it because a lot of times those free themes, most times, are just advertisements for you to get the premium version of the theme. So it's a hope for that. But yeah, those premium themes will really do it for you. So my advice, definitely invest in getting a good, reputable premium theme that's going to give you what you want.
I think that's great advice, and I'm sure we've all come across an app that we've downloaded for our phone, where it's like you get some functionality, but half of it is locked until you pay for the upgrade. And
Absolutely.
and I'm sure a lot of the theme developers adopt that same model where it's like you'll have some functionality, but they have a lot more that you can get if you pay to unlock the full functionality of the theme. And I'm sure the
Very true.
plugins are really similar to that as well.
Oh, yes, definitely. Plugins. So some of you who may or may not be familiar, I'm going to get to the question. What do I think of the Divi theme? I'm going to jump on that in just a moment, okay? And what plugins are good for blogging? I'm going to get into that one also. Okay. So let me make sure I remember. Okay, but yeah, plugins are the same. You want to make sure that if you're getting a plugin, do your research before you do. Make sure it's a good fit. I'll jump into the Elementor question as well. Yeah, make sure it's a good fit for what you're trying to do, and then you'll be golden. Some plugins aren't compatible with certain themes, so just make sure you're doing your research on that. And then also, don't overbuy. Don't get something that you really don't need. Again, do your research all the time. Um, I love sliders. I think they look wonderful and I think they're amazing, but they're very resource intensive. They can slow your site down. You may not want to get the most advanced, robust types of slider plugins with all the fancy add-ons. It's going to do this. It can really slow your site down a lot. And then statistically, customers don't really look at them that often. So you have to do your research and think of things like that before you do. One question, Devin, if I can, just real quick, one question. Someone asked me, what do I think of Divi? You know what? Divi's a great theme. I know a lot of guys who build with it. Now, is it necessarily my go-to theme? Not all the time, but it does offer a lot of really robust features. The only sometimes drawback I think about it is it's not compatible with a lot of outside type of plugins. And if you're a dev, it's a little bit tricky to customize. Everything has to come from Element Themes. They have a very closed ecosystem. So for that reason, that's why I personally don't always use it, but I think it is a really good reputable theme. One thing I will say about Divi that's very positive is Divi has a really amazing community. They have a lot of devs. There's a lot of help guides. They have a really poppin' Facebook channel, and they stay very active with their community. So you'll never really be lost. There's so much information out there about Divi, so you'll never be alone. But I've seen some people make some really really like killer sites with Divi. There was one more question up there that I think I missed that I forgot just
It
that
was,
quick.
yeah, I remember it was what plugins are good for blogging or maybe for
Okay,
bloggers.
got you. Okay, you know what? I will tell you this. The best plugin, in my opinion, for blogging is 100% going to be Gutenberg, and I'll tell you why. Um, at the end of the day, WordPress is a blogging platform. It's made for the blogger. If you want to put together a really nice page structure, maybe put a few things in there. Not every bell and whistle in the world, but maybe just like a few really nice things. Gutenberg is perfect for that, and it allows you to do it really quickly and things like that. There's some spell check plugins that you may want to do. Another one that's good for it would be something like Yoast. If you're writing a blog and you want it to be SEO friendly and things like that, Yoast will really help you with that a lot. So I would say just do those. But at the end of the day, blogging is really it's really about connecting with that audience, getting that idea out to them. There may be a lot of subject matter out there about whatever you're writing about, possibly, but if there is, you'll have certain people that will connect with you because they feel a real connection. So the most important part of your blog will be your About Me page. Make sure that's really compelling. I know we're talking about plugins, but that's really compelling right there. But it's going to be the uniqueness of your content that's really going to do it. One more thing I would also suggest, make sure you have some type of mail plugin, whether you use Jetpack, whether you use Constant Contact, you can use MailChimp, Aweber, something like that. You're going to want to have something that constantly reaches out to your audience and keeps you in connection with them. So that will be wonderful. And then yes, sliders are only good for e-commerce. You know what? That's a point. I would say sliders are always good because again, it's relative, right? So sliders are going to be good for anyone who has a visual type of website. So if you're a photographer, if you're a model, if you're an artist and you have a portfolio of some sort, something like that, that's when you really want to use those sliders. They really come in handy. They give your website that nice little bit of pop that really comes out. Sometimes that could be the thing that maybe causes them to purchase from you and not your competition. Just that little bit of pop, that little bit of jazz that a slider will give you. So they're very effective. And it's not to say don't use them. I think they're awesome, but just make sure that it's the right tool for the right job at the right time, and then you'll always come out winning.
I like that. And I think the right tool is absolutely critical. I remember one of the things that we talked about is if someone is feeling a little bit overwhelmed, then sometimes they'll go to a developer. You know, if they don't feel like they have the knowledge or the time to build their site from the ground up, people can get they can go out and hire a developer to help them build their site. Do you have any
Absolutely.
recommendations on things they should be aware of if they're hiring a developer for the first time, or potential pitfalls or roadblocks they might run into if that is the route that they're taking?
Oh, absolutely. When you're choosing a developer, you want to be really careful because, again, you don't know what you don't know. So, one of the main things that in our service in Blue Sky that we run into is individuals will have a site built by a developer, but then they don't know how to make any kind of changes if they want to change something. So let's say their business hours change, or if they've had a change in staff and on the team members page, they have to go and change that. Okay, depending on how the developer builds your site, you could be in really big trouble. You may not be able to get in there if they're using things like advanced custom fields and all kind of other things that have the ability to restrict you from getting in there. You're gonna really be screwed. So you don't want that. So when you're picking a developer, one of the first things you want to check, Julie, I'm gonna get in a Blue Sky in just a moment, I promise. And it's amazing. You're gonna love it. And yeah, Slider Revolution sliders are really heavy. They're awesome. I love them, but yeah, they can be resource intensive. But when you're choosing a developer, one thing you want to ask, what are their credentials? And then you want to get a portfolio. What are some sites that you've built that are successful? Like, show me some things because I want to see your resume, your portfolio. Another thing is I believe in proximity. There's a lot of services like Fiverr, like freelancer.com, and so on and so forth that really do amazing work. There's some really great, reputable people on there who really do some awesome work. However, um, I personally would say get someone who is in your city, someone who you know can be accountable to you. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with situations where a developer has ghosted someone or a developer has maybe done some unfair or shady practices on their site and then locked the person out and things go back and forth. So that's one thing you really want to be careful of. So have someone in proximity where you can keep them accountable, where you can sit down in a coffee shop and say, hey, that's what nothing wrong with you outsourcing some work and going different places, but just to be safe, if you're new at this, you want someone who is in your area who can be accountable to you. One more thing you're also going to want to be careful of is know what tools they are using to build your site. If they're coding, so for example, if they're using something like advanced custom fields, where if you don't know how to program in PHP, you're not going to understand like how to make changes and where things are. You're going to want to know what they're building. You're going to want to make sure that they build it in a way where you know how to make changes in the event that you have to. Definitely all of those things. The biggest pitfall I see also, Devin, just one more thing is I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone say, "Hey, this is my website, but the Aaron, what's up, my man? But the developer has it on their server." Okay, well then that's the developer's content. The business might be yours, but as far as that website goes, that website belongs to the developer, and they'll hold you over a barrel and almost extort you. So, so you don't want that. Make sure that you own your server. Make sure you own your domain name, and make sure that the developer is only coming into your account to work on that site, and that they don't lock you out. And then something I learned from music, then if you have a friend, have another developer watch that developer.
I like that. I like that.
So
And
it's good.
and obviously developers can be immensely helpful and very resourceful, and especially if you're in a bind and having a hard time getting something figured out with your website, they can be really great resource to turn to help get you out of that. But
Yes.
these tips that we're talking about, these are, I think, important for a new user to understand as they're going into this process. As you mentioned, we've seen people before that come to Bluehost and say, "Hey, I want to make a change in my website." And usually one of our first questions is, "Okay, can you log into your website? Can you get into the back end? We got to make sure that we can get back there to make the changes that we'll need to." And
Hmm.
if someone responds and says, my developer really handled all that, then sadly, there's not a whole lot that we can do on our side to help someone with their website. If their developer is the one that set everything up and has all of the credentials to it. So I think a pretty safe practice is to have the owner of the website, whoever the business owner is, to install the website, and then you can, in WordPress, you can add another user and give them permission to come in and make edits to the website and to do all the building that they need to, but that does not give them full admin administrative authority to do whatever they want within your account.
Exactly.
Um, let me ask you a question, and hopefully you can use this answer to respond to Julie's question. Is
Sure.
there a service that maybe is a little bit in the middle of the road where it's not a full-time developer, but it maybe gives a little bit of hand holding and helps people with a couple things with their website, but might not be a full developing situation?
You know what? I thought you'd never ask. No, seriously. I'll segue into Julie's question with this. Yes, absolutely. Our service, Blue Sky, that we have does just that. We're a teaching service. So if you really want to learn WordPress, we teach you how to get in there and make these changes, how to bring your vision to pass, how to be savvy, how to think like a developer and a designer, and get in there and really make things happen in the way that you want them to happen. We do a lot of hand holding. So whether you're a 101er and you just figured out last week how to turn on your computer and get on the internet, or whether you're a developer who maybe just doesn't know the WordPress platform, you might be in React, or you might be in Angular, or you might be a JavaScript person or something, but just don't know WordPress. We can help you with that and anything in between. So if you really want to build a site, have the control, be able to maintain it, build it, make it do what you want to do, and look pretty good while doing it, and really feel good about yourself and your accomplishment, please, you know what, come see us, give us a call, or, or go to our website, and we'll be so glad to bring you into our family and really help you out in that way.
Awesome. It looks like there's a couple questions about where people can learn more, or where do they start in that process if they're interested in that Blue Sky service.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. So if you want to go to bluehost.com/blue hyphen sky. So again, that's bluehost.com/blue hyphen and then the word sky. That will take you to us. It'll give you all the pricing. It'll give you our hours. You have unlimited calls during our business hours, just to let you know, depending on the package you get, you can call us. We will help you. We have some of the best WordPress minds in the industry working in there, who just like love to help people like yourselves, because you know what, we started there. So if you're like one of those individuals who fits into that spectrum, and maybe you don't have that 1,500, 2, 3, 4 grand to give to a developer, but you want to do it yourself and still really have it, work really well. Let's say you want to get into building WordPress sites for other people because it can be lucrative. Absolutely, just we can help you, and that's what we do. Quite welcome, Julie. No worries.
Awesome. And one of the other things that I think you and I spoke about was customizing themes. And I want to
Yes,
circle back to that real quick and talk about
sure.
that for a minute. Um, can you tell me the difference a little bit for maybe some people that are tuning in that aren't familiar with it? What's the difference between putting content on there and customizing your theme? Because I feel like I hear, oh, I'm going to customize my theme, and I feel like, oh, that's building the website, right? Like that's
Right.
that's what that means.
Well, right. There's a few different ways to look at it. Oh, Dev Web, what's happening? All right. So there's a few ways. Customizing your theme would be going into your actual theme files and then making changes to the coding. So if you want to customize now designing your theme to make it look like you want it to look is one thing. But when you're talking about customizing it, that's referring to okay, I'm going to jump into the Elementor Pro in just a second. Okay. So, but customizing your theme means going into the actual theme files and editing those. If you're not a coder or a professional, or you don't know exactly what you're doing, I would advise heavily against that. Not a good look. You will definitely mess your life up doing that, and you're gonna break something, and, and it's not gonna be a good look for you. Those themes are set there, like they are on purpose. Adding content to another thing would be something different, and I just wanted to make a quick point on that. When we talk about roadblocks and things that I've noticed people doing, one of the main things that I think a lot of people do when we talk about the idea of creating their own personal magnum opus, you when you buy a premium theme, you want to let that theme do the work, right? Let the theme's already done all the heavy lifting. These developers in a lot of these companies, they have like top end developers who get paid thousands upon thousands of dollars to put together the perfect website. They know where your eyes are naturally going to land when you go on it. They know what types of pictures are going to be right for the subject matter. They know how the header should look. They know like the rule of three and when to make a white background and then where it should go like slightly gray. They know all of these tips and tricks. Like it's a science. It's a study to make a successful website. When they have done all that work, you don't want to go in there and just slather barbecue sauce over on every little bit of every piece of meat on there. It's just not it's not the way for success. Let your theme work for you. Don't work against the theme and go in there. Oh, I'm deleting this. I'm changing this here. Yeah, they use Arial font here, or they use Righteous font here, or Poppins is a really popular one now. Yeah, they use this font here, but I'm gonna put this real script looking font. I'm gonna do this, and I took a few pictures from my iPhone, and I'm gonna put those as my header, and that's my hero image. It's like, no, you're like butchering the theme and just like really, just like reducing your chances of success. You definitely want to make sure you let that theme do the heavy lifting for you. Do not just try to go in there and like just go crazy. So it's just a little insight. If I could just jump on the Elementor Pro question,
Yeah, for
Devin,
sure.
real quick. What do I think about Elementor Pro? Someone asked me. I think it's an amazing plugin. It does a lot. Elementor is it's really jumped up and got a lot of market share over maybe like the past 3-4 years. So they've really been adding a lot of features to it. So much you can do with Elementor Pro. So if you are a novice, it would probably be a really good look for you to have. Um, I would say the only drawback I would say to having Elementor Pro is if you're new, it could probably overwhelm you. Um, if you're trying to make something a little bit more robust and you know what you want to put in there and you want to use those features, by all means, please do that. But the danger would be if you're kind of new at it, it can have so many features that it could overwhelm you and it may not benefit you to have all of them because you won't be able to maximize that tool because there's a lot. But if you're like kind of experienced and that kind of thing, and you want to jump in there and use Elementor Pro, yeah, it makes some really amazing sites. So a lot of people a lot of themes are bundling Elementor Pro in there, and it's probably giving WP Bakery a run for its money right now in terms of it being bundled in a lot of themes. So yeah, by all means, if you have it, please use it. Take advantage of it. Excellent plugin.
And I think that's one of the issues that we see sometimes when people are getting started. It can be overwhelming, because WordPress is
Hmm.
open source. Anyone can add a plugin. Obviously, they have people that are vetting the
Sure.
plugins that are submitted, but there's a lot of plugins out there, and there's a lot of themes out there. And I think sometimes when a new user goes in, they'll see all the different themes and all the plugins, and the best example that I've seen of plugin bloat is when someone downloaded like 4 or 5 different plugins for optimizing their
Yes.
website, and they said, okay, I have 5 plugins that are all optimizing my website. This is going to be the most optimized website on earth. So is that how that works? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Okay. Yeah. When you're talking optimization and putting in a lot of plugins, and just like in that plugin bloat, oh, nothing will kill your site more. It's just just a ton of plugins with no function. Or if you have a lot of plugins that do the same thing, it can cause you a lot of conflicts down the line. A few things you don't want. For example, you don't want 2 page builders in the same site at the same time. That's like trying to park 2 cars in a 1 car garage at the same time. Use one or the other. You don't want to have a lot of optimization type plugins. You got Hummingbird, you got Fastest Cache, you got Total Cache, you got this and that, and a ton of them all trying to optimize and do the same thing. Not a good look. That is a good way to break your site. And it's a good way. And you'll look up and say, hey, why am I getting this error? Hey, why aren't my pictures showing up? Oh, why isn't this displaying? Why is this going wrong? That's really a good way, Julie. That's really a good way to mess a lot of things up. And then a lot of that, you don't want just a lot of random plugins doing that stuff. It causes what I call cross contamination. Depending on what kind of plugins you're using. If you're going to have a slider plugin, you don't need 12 of them. If you're going to have a form plugin, you don't need Ninja Forms and Gravity Forms and Forminator and Contact Form 7 and all these other ones. Just like stick with one of those forms. All of those are great forms, by the way, but stick with one of those and let that be that. Like, don't, because you're going to slow your site down and you're going to cause yourself a lot of problems with a lot of things uh, just going haywire within your site. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Elementor Beaver Builder, yeah, the auto optimize and stuff. Yeah, you're absolutely right, sir. It's just a mess. I've seen those things working all together, and it's like it breaks things. And sometimes people think that just because, oh, okay, that's another one. Adulting with Stickers. I love that name, by the way. That's so freaking cool. Love it. Um, how many plugins are too many? Well, that's one of those. It depends. It depends. If you are using plugins and they are relevant or germane to your site, there's not necessarily a rule, but think about it like this. And think of plugins as guests in your house. After a while, you're getting too many, and people have to sleep in sleeping bags on the floor. Somebody's sleeping in the kitchen, somebody's sleeping here, and there's just too many people everywhere. So your house is only so big, but the more and more people you add in there, the more challenging and difficult. Not that you only so many people can get in the shower at the same time. Only so many people can sit at the kitchen table, and the baseboards are getting worn out, and the doors are going. Your electric bill's going up, and so on and so forth. So plugins. Shouts out to Raquel. So yeah, so those are just some things to keep in mind. Plugins are very similar. They're going to quietly suck up those resources and do all of that. So, and if you are going to have a site that's really robust and you're running a lot of plugins, you want to again have a very robust type of server. that can help you run them. So in essence, you want a larger house that could accommodate all those people. So maybe I should go minimal. Again, that's relative. It depends on what type of site you have. Nowadays, people really want like access to the content. So you want easy access to your content. If minimalism does that for you, then the more the better. You don't need all of that stuff.
It looks like the comment they said before, my website is like a one-bedroom apartment, so maybe they should go minimal. Yeah, not going to be a ton of house guests in a one-bedroom apartment. I like that analogy. The one that I've heard is um, websites and plugins is kind of like if you're going backpacking in the woods, like if you're going camping. You
Right,
know, it's like, okay, should I get a plugin that's like a sleeping bag? Yeah, I'm going to want a place to sleep, right? Or a tent, right? Like
right.
these are going to be absolutely critical. But should I bring like my Xbox or should I bring my TV? Like, I don't know if I'm really going to need that out in the woods. Or
Exactly.
like, do I need two tents if I'm going camping just by myself? Probably not. So I think the key as far as what plugins I should use and how many is I think it's as many are as useful to your website, but no more than that. And as Terry
Exactly.
said before, that's going to depend largely on what the goal of the website is and what you're trying to do with the website. But if anyone's ever gone backpacking before, believe me, you don't want to carry any extra weight than you need to. You
Not at
definitely don't want to
all.
find yourself out on the trail and find out that you didn't pack a rain fly and suddenly it starts raining and you're going to get soaked. So, you want to make sure that that you have the essentials to have a good time when you're out there, but you definitely don't want to pack the free weights. Save the workout for when you're back at home. You don't need the free weights. You don't need something that's going to kill your back and drag you down and make you go a lot slower and not have as good of a time.
Exactly. And you know what? And just to add to that, within maybe about the past couple years, it's 2020 now. So I think starting in like 2018, if I'm not mistaken, that's when Google started ranking people based on site speed. So that's one of the 200 and some odd things that they now rank you with this website speed. So being really lean in the way your site runs, that's really a key thing right now if you're looking to get those SEO rankings. Definitely want that.
Yep. And as you mentioned before, choosing the right plugins, that can be absolutely critical. And choosing the right plugins, that's something that the Blue Sky service can help you with. If you're not sure
Sure.
what plugins are right for you, and if you have too many in your backpack, and if it's dragging you down, or if it's slowing your site down, or maybe if it's like, hey, do I really need a backup plugin? If you have these questions, obviously you're welcome to give us a call. We have people standing by that can help you with that. So in wrapping up today, Terry,
Mhm.
thank you so much for your time. Tell the people where they can find you if they want to connect with you. And for those of us that are just tuning in now, let people know where they can learn more about the Blue Sky product that we have.
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, if you just want to hang out, say hi, say what's up to me, my Twitter and my Instagram, both Terry and then Pep, like the shaker, like Terry Pep Carter, which is my last name. Feel free to drop by, say what's up. Follow me. I'm a follow back person, so it's good. Michaela in the building. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Yeah, good. So, but feel free to drop by, hang out, say what's up. And then if you are looking for more information about Blue Sky and you want to CDN services, I'll jump on that in just a real quick second. Okay. But if you want more information about Blue Sky, just go to bluehost.com/Blue Sky or blue hyphen sky. So bluehost.com/blue hyphen sky. You can go there or give Bluehost a call. Either way, they can connect you with us and we can help you. We can help you build your website. We'll help you choose the right plugins and really get what you're looking to get out of your building experience. We had a lady who we work with, and I know we had a lady who she's out of Toronto. She worked with us and she was a single mom and she was building a website about resources for single moms and things like that. Well, when she first had our service, she didn't know anything. but she felt so empowered by the time she got done working with us. She started actually teaching WordPress to other single moms in her area, and really started a really dynamic group around that, and was doing some really awesome things. And there's so many other testimonies we have about people who used our service and it did so well for them. So if you find yourself in that situation, please come see us. We'll be glad to work with you. We'll be so happy to help you out. And
Awesome.
oh, the CDN part, there's a few of them. Again, a lot of people use Cloudflare. I never had a problem with Cloudflare at all in terms of CDNs. But you know what? Jetpack has a great CDN. You know, you might need to use the paid version of it, maybe not so much the free one, but it does a lot of really cool things for you. Those CDNs are pretty important, but there's some other ones, you know, do your research, but those are just two that I say are relatively easy to use, and they're very reputable. And I've seen the work that they do, and it comes out really good in my experience. So just a little something on that.
And for those of you that are not familiar, CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. It's essentially
Yes,
a global network that can cache your website on servers around the world. So it essentially translates to faster load times around the world, regardless of where your website is physically hosted, regardless of where
that's correct.
the main database is, or the main data center. All right. Well, I believe that's everything for today. Terry, thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone that's here, hit the heart,
Thank you
show
for
Terry
having
some
me.
love. This was really, really informative, and I really appreciated your time today. So thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Take care.
See you, Terry.
All right, bye now.